Good evening. Civil war rages in England today. The army of King Charles I clashed with the forces of his own parliament at the Battle of Edgehill. Neither side won a clear-cut victory. For a report, here's Azana Axum with the Royal Army at Edgehill.
These are the royal troops of King Charles. Today they were pitted against their own brothers, fathers, and countrymen. The English Parliament, a powerful political force that Charles has repeatedly offended, refused to back away from civil war. The Puritans in Parliament are the King's most vocal opponents. Earlier today, we questioned two Puritan leaders regarding the King's recent actions.
The King only calls Parliament into session when he needs large sums of money. And earlier this year, he brought armed guards into the House of Commons to arrest 5 members for treason.
In the past, we could retaliate by refusing to grant his financial requests. However, since he has begun levying taxes with or without our approval, we were forced to take somewhat stronger measures.
King Charles sees the problem differently.
Parliament would like nothing better than to deprive me of all of my sovereign rights and privileges. Those puritanical power seekers want to turn me into a weak king, a figurehead. England needs a strong king who can make critical decisions without consulting a higher authority. A weak king begets a weak country.
Has Parliament proposed an end to this stalemate?
Yes, that damnable John Pym and his evil allies have proposed that Parliament be given the right to appoint all my advisors, to control my military resources, to discharge my bishops. They even want to choose the educators of my children.
The King and his Parliament may find civil war an acceptable alternative to negotiation, but many others we've talked to did not.
I've got a husband and 2 sons at home. If it comes to a fight, it'll be our men who do the fighting and dying, not those perfumed gentlemen in Parliament. Besides, Englishmen fighting Englishmen makes no sense at all when you think of all the other enemies we've got around us.
Them have caused all the trouble. It's the likes of Pym and them Puritans, always telling a body how to run his life. The King is not any better either. He's always pulling and tugging for more power and more money, never even thinking about the likes of us.
Puritan members of Parliament like John Pym and John Hampden see this conflict as a holy war against a king who has overstepped his authority. They feel that he must be restrained for the good of the country. These gentlemen joined reporter Richard Essex at our EBC affiliate in London.
We fight to free this ineffectual king from the overbearing influence of popish counselors. These men have persuaded His Majesty to reintroduce Roman Catholicism into England and to establish a despotic and arbitrary government. Even the Queen herself, Henrietta Maria, is a Roman Catholic.
As is the King's closest advisor, William Laud, the Archbishop of Canterbury. I know, he says he's a Protestant, but he has harassed Puritans for years.
The King argues he must have power to govern the country, that he's entitled to traditional royal privileges. Is there any merit to this argument?
Hardly. At the moment, his royal privileges seem to include illegal taxation, outrageous conduct, and unrelenting greed. Why, he's even levying fines on those of us who refuse to buy a knighthood.
He quarters his troops in private homes because he cannot afford to house them elsewhere. And he throws people into prison without reason.
These are clearly violations of our fundamental liberties. Indeed, the fundamental liberties of all Englishmen. This James has gone against the Magna Carta and the common law. The King of England should uphold the law, not violate it at every opportunity.
The legislature of the colony of Virginia, the House of Burgesses, passed its first slavery law today. Black slaves were first brought to Virginia in 1619, and the slave trade has grown steadily since that time. Until today, however, slavery was not recognized by law. The new law says that slaves may be killed for resisting an order of their masters, and that any child of a white man and a black woman will also be a slave.
Northern Ireland, the violence continues.
When you serve the new drink that comes to your table straight from the Spanish-American colonies, watch closely. For something wonderful will happen. Even to the most jaded palate. Rich, dark, cocoa from Shropshire's